No.
For the folks online, we're starting just a couple of minutes late. There's folks getting food unless you're ready. Oh, okay. Can we just do a sound check? Nick, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can.
Great, we can hear you. Thank you. All right, well, they're unmuted.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order and whatever clock you're using, 12:02 or whatever. Go ahead and do introduction. Start with Mayor Hopkins down
Mayor Hopkins here.
there. Corey,
Early on, fast time.
Olivia Lunsford, Fast Fanny.
Cherry Clear, City of Fairbanks.
Jackson Fox, Fast Planning. Scott Crass, Turkey Supper.
And others in the room?
Doug Galligan with Borough.
Colin Stone with the borough.
Jack Farnell, his minor.
You want to call?
Brett Nelson, he is East, right?
Yeah, that's what I need. And online?
Jenny Quakerbush with the
Oh, well,
Go ahead,
so we
Jimmy.
called board member Nick, yeah.
Hi, Nick Zarnicki, Alaska DOT. Or sorry, DOT, DEC.
And then I'll call out the folks online just to make it easy. We've got Randy Bailey, Alaska DOT Planning. We have Ben White, FHWA, right? Jason Olds, Jenny Quakenbush, and Laura Hatch.
And Nick, welcome. I saw your picture there briefly. Are you in Anchorage today?
Yes, I am based in Anchorage now. I was in Fairbanks for 7 years, worked for the Fairbanks North Star Borough, and then switched over to Alaska DEC in 2022 and moved down to Anchorage in 2023.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being a part of this. Okay, next on the agenda, approval of September 24th, 2025 agenda. You have it in front of you. Are there any changes to that? I might recommend one thing and see if the board is in concurrence. Under old business, we have 7A, which is our budget. Yet later in the meeting, we have the executive session, which also is going to refer to the budget somewhat. I was wondering if the folks would like to move our 7A to take place after the executive session. Or do you like to leave it where it is?
It doesn't matter to me. Discretion of the chair, if you'd like to move it.
Well, without, there's no objection. I'd like to move 7A down to the 11B or something right after the executive session. Okay, thank you for that. Any other changes in the agenda? Seeing none. Any objection to it? And to pass this thing. Item 4, approval of the August 2025 meeting minutes. So you're a motion to approve.
Move to approve the August 2025 meeting minutes. Second is. Have a quorum.
We do,
Yes.
just barely. We got 4 of us.
Nick is standing in.
No, sorry. So Jason Olds and Nick Zarnecki have swapped roles.
Oh,
Jason
okay,
Olds
I
is
heard
now
that.
on our technical committee and Nick Zarnecki is on our policy board. We do have a designation letter from the DEC commissioner and our PD staff for that.
Unfortunately, we simplified that process a meeting or 2 ago. See how wise we are? Okay, well, I'm taking Mayor Hopkins as a second on that. So it's moved by Scott and seconded by Mayor Hopkins. Any objection? That passes unanimously. And that brings us to item 5. Turn it over to Jackson.
Yeah, our staff report begins on page 12 in the packet. Just want to highlight a few activities that we've carried out over the past month since last time we met. On page 12 there, underneath project and planning meetings, I want to make note that we have held our first steering committee meeting for our Metropolitan Transportation Plan update. We had quite a large steering committee made up of representatives from all of our member agencies and as well as some of our local organizations like the Foundation Health Partners, Explore Fairbanks. We have the City of Fairbanks Police Department and Fire Department on the steering committee, which is great in addition to engineering and public works. We've got a school district rep, both DOT pre-construction planning and maintenance and operations, the airport, both Eielson and Fort Wainwright, et cetera. So we have a large steering committee established for that. Their first meeting was really just an introduction to the planning process that we will undertake over the next year and a half to get to an approved plan by December of 2026. Just short of a year and a half from now. And then they focus the rest of their meeting on looking at the existing vision, goals, and objectives of our current Metropolitan Transportation Plan and how those might be updated moving forward. I'll give another quick update on that a little bit later on the agenda, but just want to make note that the last time we did this planning effort, it was just after COVID hit us and the overhaul was coming but hadn't started yet. And so our frame of mind was quite different in relation to goals and objectives for the plan than it is today, now that these things are in place and or somewhat behind us. Next, I want to note that we did hold an interagency consultation meeting on the latest air quality conformity analysis report delivered by our consultant team, Trinity Consultants, looking at the next steps for lifting the conformity freeze. This particular report was supposed to be an update of our emissions analysis and compare those to the recently approved emission budgets that were approved by the EPA. Some of the numbers in that report did not match up, so few of the numbers actually exceeded the emission budgets that were approved by the EPA due to some changes in the inputs that are required by the EPA for vehicle age distribution and temperature data for that is available through their website. So during that meeting, our federal partners discussed how the report could potentially be revised to show that we meet the budgets, potentially using a more current model that is available for our consultant team. So new model runs were run last week, delivered to me on Monday. I emailed those to our federal partners, showing how two different options of how these numbers can be at or below our emission budgets. And I'm waiting on feedback from them as far as which way to display the data that they would prefer. But I also did learn from our federal partners in writing that basically once we have our next meeting and if our federal partners accept this report, the only next step is for Federal Highways to issue us a letter saying that our emissions conform to the budget and the freeze is lifted. So there will not be another, say, 30-day public comment period to tack on to this process. It'll be one meeting and a one-page letter that's delivered to us. So I hope it's imminent, but we will see what the feedback is with the latest model runs that we submitted on Monday. And then just a note, prior to this meeting, from 11 to about 11:45, we did have an executive session with the Alaska Railroad and DOT right-of-way department to discuss the acquisition options for the trail on railroad land north of the river, north of Pioneer Park. And we do have some next steps and discussion points following that executive session for both the borough and the city. So stay tuned on that for future updates. On the next page, underneath organization, I did update the office cost history from 2019 to present. For purposes of discussing the 2026 office budget, this was requested at our last policy board meeting. And this is a cost history document that I did present to the board last year. Now it has the 2025 numbers included in that, and it is in your packet here today. And then underneath public outreach, We did host a booth at the downtown market at Golden Heart Plaza, to continue to push the public survey on the bike lane signing and striping pilot project. The survey closed on September 15th, and so staff are working right now on summarizing the results of the survey. And at your next meetings, we intend to present the summary of those survey results to both the technical committee and the policy board. And then underneath funding, I am currently working on an amendment to our transportation improvement programs, our short-term funding plan. At this time, the schedule that I've outlined is to introduce that to the technical committee and policy board at your November meetings for consideration of releasing for public comment through late November through late December, and then bring it back to you all for adoption in January. And then at last note related to item 8B on the agenda, we did assist DOT with preparing project nominations for some new CMAQ projects. These are congestion mitigation air quality funds for some path improvements in our area. The great thing about these projects is it's statewide CMAQ dollars. And so these funds don't compete with our existing CMAQ dollars in our funding plan. They are supplemental to our area. So we'll discuss those for your acceptance later in the meeting. On the next page, it shows you the designation letter, swapping out Jason Olds for Nick Zarnecki on the policy board. Jason Olds will continue in his service to us on our technical committee. And then my last update is page 15, the action items in the technical committee meeting on September 3rd. The first item they took up, which is a request from Lauren Little to add the operating agreement and boundary update to their agenda for a new recommendation. She specifically requested the formation of a working group to work through the edits on the operating agreement that DOT has provided to us. The technical committee, their recommendation to the board was to only form that working group to look at those edits after the governor approves our new metropolitan plan area boundary. And that was unanimous at that meeting, that recommendation. It is not on your agenda here today because Lauren Little is out of town and was not able to join us at this meeting. She asked that this be brought forward to the policy board at the October meeting. Next, they took up the call for project nominations for electric vehicle charging stations. I brought this back to the technical committee and to you all here today at the policy board to discuss staff issuing that call for project nominations. The court cases at the federal level have settled out with the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program. So those funds can move forward. Our obligation of carbon reduction program funds to build charging stations has been approved by Federal Highways. So we have a thumbs up to proceed by our federal partners to move forward with this call and designing charging stations and the installation. But I just wanted to, again, check in with you all one more time prior to staff issuing this call, and we'll discuss that more later on the agenda. But the technical committee did recommend we proceed with that call for project nominations. And then they also recommended that the policy board accept the 3 new CMAQ project nominations from DOT to incorporate in our funding plan for our area. These 3 projects that you see listed there, they would be included as part of that TIP amendment that I previously described, coming to you in November for approval in January. But schedule-wise, I believe that things will be constructed in 2027. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Jackson. Any questions? There,
Where would the Gaffney Road parking lot be?
At the GARS intersection
there's a picture of it buried somewhere in your packet there,
in the northwest corner.
page 76.
There you go.
Thank you. That's good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I did want to ask Jackson if I could get a copy of the results from those model runs on the emission budget.
Yes.
Great.
Okay, I think we're gonna move on then to public comment. Mayor Church was here yesterday, so I'm concerned why it's not here.
It's your old places, places here.
Not- Okay, anyway, we're gonna go with public comments. Is there anyone in the room here wishing to give public comments on any item that's not an action item on the agenda? Is there anyone online wishing to speak?
Yes,
Yeah.
this is Jason Old.
Hi, Jason, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thanks to everybody for the time we've enjoyed the past 3 years. It's been an honor serving on the policy board. We're just giving Nick an opportunity here to take the spot for a bit. I'll still be around on the technical committee and doing the day job. So I hope to see you all again in the future. And it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a pleasure to work with you. Anybody else? See nobody. Public comment period is closed. That brings us to old business. We moved item 7A to after the executive session. Goes to 7B, the electric vehicle charging stations. Call for project nominations, and this is an action item. Jackson.
Yeah, Olivia, if you actually go to the top of page 26. You'll see in our funding plan for the Fairbanks North Pole electric vehicle charging stations. That we have a design start funded for fiscal year 2025, which ends on September 30th here. That $300,000 that you see there has been approved by Federal Highways to for us to move forward to begin design of EV charging stations. Our first step in this process would be to issue a call for project nominations for potential site hosts throughout the community. And we did prepare, if you can recollect, a few months ago, a project application as well as a fact sheet to explain to potential site hosts what the requirements would be for those charging stations. I know that from those meetings in the past, the direction from the board was to issue that call for project nominations as soon as Federal Highways approved the funding. But with the court case settling out and some of the dynamics changing with electric vehicle charging stations, meaning the rebates no longer exist for vehicle manufacturers, for potential buyers, and the issue with barges not being able to ship electric vehicles for those insurance liability reasons. Anyways, there's just been some things that have come up. Also, in my discussions with DOT, for the right-of-way process to install a charging station on potentially on private property, if there was a private property site host, that may be difficult for them to accomplish. And so their hope is that we would only accept applications for charging stations on public property. But then that would require city, borough, state to accept the maintenance responsibility for the charging station, even if you choose to have them maintained by a third-party vendor. In any event, there's just some kind of outline details here that I just want some confirmation from the board. Do you want me to issue this call for project nominations and see what comes in? Or do you want to think about this a little bit longer before we go ahead and pull the trigger? Again, the technical committee recommended unanimously to go ahead and move forward with project nominations. See what we get in and have that discussion later. But we do have, I think it's about $2.4 million total set aside for the design, installation, and operation of these charging stations. And just in the packet, just real briefly, the other materials. If you want a refresher for your memory for the motions that were made by the policy board, those were included on pages 29 and 30. And then behind that, the one-page application for the call for project nominations, it's on page 32, followed by the fact sheet, which begins on page 33.
Thank you, Jackson. Any questions for Jackman?
So, it sounds like, you're outlining some good reasons for discussion, maybe waiting, but what kind of time period do you see, like, this be something we should revisit? Like, what are some obvious sort of points in time that we might have clarity on some of these issues?
I don't know that we're necessarily gonna get clarity on these issues. So the question is are you all ready to make a decision here today for a path forward, or do you need, say, another month to postpone this to next month to continue discussion? I mean, I think that there is definitely a need for electric vehicle charging stations throughout our community, as shown in our electric vehicle deployment plan. We can scale this up as big as we want or as small as we want. But yeah, there's just some challenges we have to be aware of as we move forward. This 2.4 million we set aside is not a number that we're locked into for any one reason or another. But it is what was previously approved for the effort.
It could be approved for something else.
Once we start the design of charging stations and start spending money on design, if it doesn't go to construction, it could be non-participating funds that would have to pay back to the federal government. So we're gonna commit, we need to commit something.
And that would take place after the project selection.
Project selection, yes.
That's helpful. I think, if I may, Mr. Chair. Without, thinking that we'll know more later, we're not gonna find out additional information. I think putting this out to the community to get some good proposals in front of us. And that's the point at which we'll be able to make our decision about what merits the best use of these public funds. Unfortunately, due to the uncertainty that's out there, I think, that's gonna be, it may affect people that are willing to put in the time to develop these projects, and submit them and put the effort in. But hopefully they'll understand that, we've done our due diligence and this money is available to help build these out. So I'm with the technical committee on this and in favor of moving it forward.
Mayor,
Does accepting, asking for project nominations, what we're talking about right now, is that the 300,000 that we would expend to accept those nominations?
No, the product nomination process would be something that's done at the staff level. The $300,000 is for DOT to begin and manage a design process, likely through hiring a consultant to design the stations at locations you all have selected.
So right now, we're asking people to do some work and come to us with ideas.
Yeah, we're correct.
Okay.
We're asking at the staff level, Fast Planning would issue the call for project nominations. We already have the one-page form. Please submit a proposal to us with these, 9 things. I forget how many there are. And then we would bring those forward to our technical committee to review. Because there's a big difference between the cost of a fast charging station, level 3 or level 1, and then a level 2, which is a lesser one that takes many hours to charge a vehicle. I mean, we'll be looking at locations, the cost, how many ports. We just have to, and then whoever nominates them will have to commit to a 9% match. And so, we'll just have to see what project sponsors we get.
And then follow up on that, if I remember right, there was some discussion with DOT about this, and they were moving forward, not as worried, and they didn't wait for the court case or whatever that decision was, and went forward with it. Is there any way to dovetail with what they're looking at, or is that part of that 300,000 we put in? And maybe that's a question we'd ask it to DOT person, but is there any coordination in those efforts? Or DOT is not looking in the pathfinding area, and this is our responsibility. Like, how do those two efforts for electric charging stations dovetail?
Well, the NEVI funds, I believe those have been unshelved and are moving forward for the build out along the alternative fuel corridor between Fairbanks and Anchorage. I think West Fred Meyer was one of those locations that was funded through the NEVI program, so they are moving forward on their side, but again, what we're considering using here is our own funding sub-allocation and carbon reduction program funds, so they're different funds, they're more flexible funds. They can be spent on other air quality projects other than this. But it's up to you all how you would like to spend your funding that you have available to you.
You said in your presentation, might have misunderstood this, but it must be on public property.
No, they can be installed on private property, but it is a difficult task for DOT right away to accomplish that without acquisition of the property in which the charging station would be located on. So other states have been able to navigate this. It has proven difficult for our DOT right-of-way department to accomplish that with the
Yeah, that's
statutes and regulations that they're working with.
That's really gonna limit things. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and I think in my mind, the way I'm seeing this process unfold is that we could issue this call for proposals and at that point evaluate them against the sort of high watermark of $2.4 million. But we may find, at that time, we'll balance it against some other potential projects that we might have in the back of our mind, whether those maybe should come in front of some of these charging stations.
Actually, we're probably a little out of order here. We'll get in that discussion when we get the motion.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Any other questions for Jackson? Okay, we're gonna go to public hearing on this. Anyone wishing to testify on this? Okay, public testimony is closed. Like to get a motion on the floor before we get into it.
I move that we issue the call for project nominations.
I'll second it.
Moved by Scott, seconded by Mayor Hopkins. Okay, go ahead, Scott.
Thank you. I apologize, Mr. Chair. As I was saying earlier, I could see this process unfolding where we issue this call. And, the committee puts forward some charging stations. I think that'll give us a real world sort of litmus test of the interest, of the community in installing these. And we can weigh the use of these funds on them by project basis. And it may not reach $2.4 million. We may have fewer projects than that, in which case, at that time, we could reallocate those funds to other projects, CMAQ projects.
Anyone else? I guess the only concern I have is in the form that we looked at, we modified it slightly at a prior meeting for those that are going to apply. I don't remember us talking about this new wrinkle where DOT is concerned. So if you have a private piece of property and you want to put a charging station on there, how's that gonna be handled? And you are still liable for that maintenance agreement. Okay, maybe a question for DOT here. Are you gonna require, let's say, I'm gonna use an example, Fred Meyer East. Fred Meyer West is already going ahead with a charging station. If they do it, then does DOT have to own that property eventually, or how does that work?
Anybody in the room that can answer that?
I wish Brian was. I imagine it would be the same as those. People have some kind of lease by a fish that we spend federal dollars. So whenever we spend federal dollars, we need to have sufficient right of way interest that meets the FHWA requirements. So I imagine that's what this would have to follow as well.
Somehow, I think that should be included. I mean, if I got the application and that wasn't in there and I go through all the efforts, and I find that out, that might kill me as far as going ahead and applying. Do we make a change to that application to put in some kind of language to state all that?
that the state would maintain them? Is that what you said?
Well, yeah, I mean, to have a lease on it or however they're closing, I mean, we'd have to work a DOT on that, but that language should go in there, because before I just thought anyone could apply, as long as you have signed a maintenance agreement. Now there's more strings on private property. Yeah. Then there's the public property part of it too. You have the university, like we were talking yesterday, the university applies. And they come up with a maintenance agreement on that. That's specific in the application now, isn't it? That they have this, and okay. And so right now we know that Fred Meyer West is putting in a station and apparently Three Bears is doing it, is that?
Three Bears, as my understanding is they're installing a charging station with their own funding. But I believe West Fred Meyer was part of the DOT NEVI program. But, which is being kind of co-managed with the Alaska Energy Authority, so I don't know how that was accomplished. But
It's not Title 23, since it's grant.
yeah, it might be, so I don't, yeah, I can't really speak on behalf of DOT as to how these things are or are not accomplished. I've just been tipped off that, there is concern that if we approve charging stations on private property, it may prove difficult for DOT right away to work through that process.
Mayor,
So we're sitting here now just deciding if we wanna ask for ideas and proposals. When we come back in 30 or 60 days for the next meeting or the meeting after that, whenever those projects are put on the table, that discussion with DOT could happen before we spend any money. I don't think we're getting ahead of ourselves by asking for proposals right now. Maybe there are none on private property, or would, so I think that discussion could happen before we start spending money, just figure out what's out there and if there are any interesting ideas that could drive us in a direction of moving forward or not. The 2.4 is a good amount, and if it's one or two projects, it's $1 million or $1.5 million, and we just have $1 million of CMAQ money left over, and we can decide how we incorporate those. I guess one question for staff, as you put out proposals, would you be able to, in the request for proposals, say, would you maintain this, would you expect the state to maintain this, or some question in there to see if we could get, maybe not gonna do Nissan, maybe a car dealer really wants it and they could be willing to maintain it or something like that. Just an example. That might create more problems, but it might give us an idea of what some options are out there when we can come back and talk to DOT. And right now, asking for proposals might shine some light on what the next steps and the questions we need to ask in the 30 or 60 days from now would be.
I think the maintenance language is already in there, right?
It is, yes.
Okay.
So the only wrinkle in this would be, there's some DOT strings attached to this. If we could make them aware of that, if I were a respondent, I would appreciate knowing about that. That's all I'm saying. Maybe, I don't see any harm in putting it out there, but
Yeah.
I don't want to mislead somebody and that they go through all the work and giving us a proposal and we say, oh, by the way.
Do you want us to amend the motion to make sure your request for proposals puts that language in there, or can you guys kind of do that?
I can wordsmith the opening paragraph to identify that as a risk.
That'd be good.
Let's do that.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, go ahead and call the roll. Jeff.
Okay, Mr. Kraft,
Yes.
Mayor Hopkins.
Yep.
Mr. Favor,
Yes,
and Mr. Zarnecki.
Yes.
that part passes 4-0. And please note, Mayor Church has joined us. Getting worried about you.
You wanna vote on, we just vote no.
Okay, brings us to item 8A under new business, Metropolitan Transportation Plan update. Are you good?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Clearwood. So on page 36, this is gonna be real brief here. This outlines the project schedule for our Metropolitan Transportation Plan update. We are, of course, in 2025. In the September column there, we have held our first steering committee meeting for this, as I identified in my staff report. We also provided a brief update to our technical committee. Moving forward into next month, we're gonna have our first open house / public workshop at the library on Tuesday, October 21st, from 5 to 7 p.m. This workshop is going to be focused on getting the public to identify their transportation needs. It might be an unsafe intersection. It might be, here's a gap in the sidewalk network. There's speeding on this roadway, or at this particular intersection, there's a lot of congestion or delay. Things of that nature. We're trying to pull out from the public some of the transportation barriers or needs that they have, as well as any, project ideas that they have for what we should invest our federal funding into. That workshop will be accompanied by a public survey. The online survey will be very brief, 3 or 4 questions that leads you directly to an interactive map. So you can put a pin and better describe what your transportation need is or your project idea is. We're hoping to open up that survey around October 14th. So in the next 2 weeks or so, with that interactive map, and we're going to have that open for 30 days. So the workshop will be about a week after that's published, but we'll keep that open through early November. And then the week following that workshop, we'll have our second steering committee meeting so that we can share back with the steering committee what we heard from the public at the open house event, as well as share with them the preliminary survey results. But really, we're trying to just populate some public input. Later in the process, there will be a second public workshop that presents back to them the plan and all the projects that we've identified based on their input. But there'll be a lot of different touch points with the public. But this is, there's gonna be quite a bit of work that you'll see out there in October. And then behind that, pages 37 through 39 simply shows you the exercise that we went through with the steering committee meeting, or with the steering committee earlier in the month, where we looked at the existing goals and objectives of the current Metropolitan Transportation Plan, and we wordsmithed some updated goals and objectives. We are trying to better align our goals and objectives with our system performance measures for safety, pavement condition, bridge condition, travel time, reliability, and lowering emissions in our area. So some of these have been modified to sync up with those, but they've also been modified again, because if you read through some of the goals and objectives, we were very aware of COVID being in the midst of us all, and an overhaul operation coming up that hadn't yet hit the ground. So a lot of that type of language has been removed, and we're getting back to the basics here with our system performance measures. So this is the working draft. We have had a number of steering committee members submit written comments as well for additional adjustments. But when we have our final draft of our goals and objectives, we'll bring that back to present to the technical committee and policy board. And that's my update at this time. I'll try to give you all monthly updates at our meetings of where we're at this process.
Any questions? Scott, go
Are
ahead.
are there any planned work sessions between the steering committee and the policy board?
Not between the steering committee and policy board, but yes, there are work sessions with the technical committee and policy board, with the consultant team and staff.
Mhm.
There will also be a work session with the planning commission. Borough Planning Commission.
Okay.
I forget the other one. I don't know if it's the assembly, but
Who's on the steering committee?
my list here. Okay, so we have, Eielson Air Force Base, Fort Wainwright, Alaska Railroad, the airport, Foundation Health Partners, Fairbanks Senior Center, Fairbanks Senior Citizens Advisory Commission, Explore Fairbanks. We have members from our Project Enhancement Committee, Walk, Ride, and Roll Advisory Committee, UAF, Design and Construction, DOT Planning, DOT Pre-Construction, DOT Maintenance and Operations, Borough Community Planning, School District, Borough Parks and Rec, City Engineering, City Public Works, City North Pole, these other ones were Fairbanks, and then, City of Fairbanks Police and Fire Departments.
Thank you. For Mayor Church and Mayor Cruz, we changed the agenda around just a little bit. Item 7A, which is our budget for the coming year, we moved that down to 11A, so it's gonna be after the executive session, okay? And there's lunches here, if you guys want lunches. They're really good. Okay, that brings us to item 8B, new project nominations for statewide congestion mitigation and air quality. These are state CMAQ funds, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
Jackson?
This begins on page 40 in your packet. So DOT pre-construction has come up with some ideas for some non-motorized projects within our boundary. They're outlined there on page 40. First one of which is Belane Path Improvements. This would be basically from Yankovich all the way up to Gold Street Road. There is an existing path in a state of disrepair. The intent of this project is to rebuild that embankment for that pathway. It wouldn't be an asphalt pathway, but it would be a compacted E1 surface, because the ground continually settles out there. And so the hope is that we can use some federal money to rebuild that path alignment. And then as things settle, DOT M&O can patch up the road there. That's a pretty big investment at $3.45 million. The next one is the Sheep Creek Extension Shared Use Path. This will be a connection between basically the Parks Highway and Gold Hill Road or Sheep Creek, that little connector road between the parks and Sheep Creek. This would be done in conjunction of the other improvements that are actively underway in that area. And then the last one would be, this actually came from Ron Davis through DOT Maintenance and Operations to put in a gravel parking lot at the Gars intersection to serve as a park and ride for the new path that connects Fairbanks to North Pole along the Richardson Highway. This is one of the great benefits of that particular path, is that it is actually a good ride for families, all ages and disabilities, because you don't have a density of driveways along it like you do on Farmers Loop or Geist Road, Chena Pump, etc. But yeah, the idea would be, it'd be a summer kind of park and ride for primarily recreational use of that new facility along the Richardson Highway. All three of these projects, the DOT is proposing to use statewide CMAQ dollars, so none of these projects compete with our local sub-allocations of federal funding to fast planning. So what I pitched to the technical committee is that I think we should just accept these projects since they're all consistent with our current long-range metropolitan transportation plan. The first two of which are specifically listed in that plan. The third one of which supports an existing facility that was built with our plan. And that we would waive the process of having the technical committee actually score these projects, since they're not going to compete for funding in our area. This is just bonus federal dollars for investment into non-motorized facilities in our area. And behind this, I did assist DOT with filling out our project nomination forms. I also reached out to Trinity Consultants and have them perform emission benefit calculations, because to use CMAQ funding on projects, we have to show a positive emission benefit, or should show an emission reduction. So the work has been done to show that these projects are eligible for the funding, and we've assisted DOT with, again, going through our process, the fast planning side, minus actually requesting that the technical committee score these. Because again, it's kind of what I would call supplemental or bonus funding to our area for these projects. And the technical committee recommended that you all accept these to be incorporated into our funding plan without having to score them. And if you approve these three projects today, I'll add that as part of our next TIP amendment, which you'll see in November. Will be brought back to you for approval in January. So there will be additional opportunity for the public to provide input on these projects through that process.
Thank you, Jackson. Any questions? Or Mayor Hopkins?
Any match requirements by any entities locally?
No, provided they're being funded with CMAQ, by policy, any CMAQ projects, the state covers the match. So the state would cover the match for all three, so there would not be, match would not be requested from the two cities.
Would it be contingent on the legislature providing that 9% match?
I can't answer that question. I don't know what the DOT's match account looks like this time.
Will the DOT be maintaining these three projects?
Yes.
So, did you,
No, I'll take it for deliberations.
anyone else, questions for Jackson? Go ahead, Mayor.
On the Sheep Creek extension. The map looks like on page 65. It doesn't look like it connects up to Sheep Creek. Is that correct?
We have Yvette Hall, who is the project manager that will lead the design. We have the picture up there. Wouldn't mind taking a question.
Sure, so I'm the design manager also for the Parks Highway Sheep Creek road extension signal intersection project, which is HSIG funded. When I did the public comment period, we received quite a few comments from the public asking for a separated path between the Parks Highway and the Sheep Creek Road. My project doesn't extend all the way there, and there is also a fish passage culvert to the east of Golden Hill Road. But I was able to reach out to statewide, and I received encouragement to nominate a portion of the future separated pathway in there. So the plan and the cost estimate submitted for this project start is that shared use path would only be between Parks Highway and Gold Hill Road. And it would be bundled up for advertising for construction with the Parks Highway signal, Sheep Creek Road signal project, so we would get those cost savings. And we would also get a better product because of the embankment would be constructed. But yes, it would, so it doesn't extend the entire roadway, I think it's about 1/3 of it. But it connects the existing facility of Parks Highway and Gold Hill Road bike facility, which are the shoulders there.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we go to public hearing? Seeing none, we're open for public hearing. Is anyone in the room? Not leaving, want to testify? Anyone online? Well, it's public testimony, so sure, you can speak.
I wanted to ask, is it possible to get this Sheep Creek, if the motion passes, to get the project in the tip sooner than with the January amendment?
Yes. If I do an administrative modification, so due to the dollar amount, we might be able to fit it into our CMAQ program next month. If I do a separate administrative modification from the amendment.
That would be a lot better.
Anyone else? Public testimony is closed. Do I hear a motion?
Move to accept the project nominations from DOT for statewide CMAQ funding.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Kraft, seconded by Mayor Hopkins. Discussion?
I did want to note that I've received some letters of support for these projects to my assembly email. I apologize, I didn't bring them forward with me, but some folks knew that we were on fast planning and sent them to public comment to the assembly in support. I haven't received any in opposition.
Mayor Hopkins.
Yeah, I also got those emails, but I just want to speak strongly in favor of these, and I want to also thank DOT for coming up with ways to improve some of those separated bike paths and that access. These are very, very heavily used areas. That Villain one is certainly in a state of disrepair, and there's a lot of families along it. They use it, it's just hit or miss depending on whatever the weather is. And this will make it more of a non-weather specific bike separated path. So thank you. We've been looking at maintenance on it. I know that's always a conundrum, so I appreciate you guys moving on that one as well and understanding the maintenance requirements. It'll be very heavily used and there's always people walking along Sheep Creek Extension as well. And that will be, we will find a way to get the other 2/3 funding because it comes from the university and a lot of people, students live down that Gold Hill Road area. There's a lot of people walking along that, so hopefully this can improve that access as well. And then the Gaffney parking lot, you know, I remember an article recently about one of the problems is the pedestrian access along GARS makes it difficult for usage and for, more people, you know, using it as a pedestrian walkway. I think this will really help that and make it really nice for families to be able to get to North Pole. And use that new bike path along there that's memorialized for somebody who needed that bike path and passed away. So I think that project also is excellent for the east side of town to be able to start biking into town more and have a place to meet and park. So thank you, DOT, for bringing these forward. I think these are excellent projects.
Any other comments? Seeing none, go ahead and call the roll, please.
Okay, Mr. Kraft,
Yes.
Mayor Church,
Yes.
Mayor Hopkins,
Yes.
Mayor Bruce,
Yes.
Mr. Cleaver,
Yes,
and Mr. Zarnecki.
Yes.
5-0. Thank you. That brings us to informational items, obligations and offsets. Item number 9.
Okay, page 85. Federal fiscal year is closing quick, September 30th. Currently, we're only at 83% obligations on the year, which is far behind what we've seen in previous years. However, our biggest obligation that is still planned to go through this month is the University Avenue South Bicycle and Pedestrian Path. So this will be south of the Mitchell Expressway, down along the east ramp at the airport. But I had assurances from DOT that this construction obligation would be completed this month so that it can get out to bid. It would not be built until next summer, but at least it be out to bid here this fall. But that's a $2.6 million investment into a new path down there along the South University Avenue. The obligations I'm still waiting on is the Borough Hybrid Fleet Vehicle Pilot Program. I know that kind of went through the assembly at the last minute, so I'm still waiting to see that obligation turn up. As well as the snow removal equipment for the borough, Max Transit Department. The two projects that will not be obligated this year include the bike racks for the Max Transit buses. That was not brought forward to the assembly, so that funding will be reprogrammed to another project. It's not a lot of money though, it's $50,000. And then the other one is the high school access and circulation study for North Pole. That's simply being delayed to federal fiscal year 26, so we can bring that back up October 1st. So just kind of ran out of time to develop a scope of services and get out an RFP for that, but we're still moving that forward here in the new year. And then, yeah, page 87, our offsets, they have been zeroed out. They were zeroed out with the last construction increase on Cowell Street, which the technical committee approved in August. And then page 88 is our pending project closures. This list will be updated to include those projects that were under construction this summer so that we can track them over the winter for construction closeout. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. Are there any other issues? See any? We'll move on then. Next on the agenda, we're going to go in executive session. What we're going to do there is, the first part of that, Jackson's going to be with us and give a report on employees and things like that, like he normally does, and then we would ask him to step out while we deliberate. Okay. So I need a motion to go in executive session.
Move to go into executive session for the reason of talking about that.
Employee reviews.
Yes, employee reviews.
Second.
Okay. It's moved by Mayor Hopkins, who seconded? Scott. Second that. Anyone opposed to going to executive session? Seeing none. We will work and do that. We do that with. Like,
Yeah, that's a good point.
do it by telephone. easier.
Yeah, it would be easiest if Nick could call in. With phone.
We have a phone out here.
You could use anybody's phone and just put on.
It's not my phone, because I'll be leaving.
You wanna just have them call me?
Yeah, I'm gonna think about.
Yep, if you have a phone number, I'm all ears.
907-251-0800.
Now, for those in attendance that are still online with us, I'm gonna remove the audio and video capabilities from in the meeting room and then when we return home, reinstate those capabilities. So.
Could I
will
get
be
you
able
to repeat, sorry, could I get you to repeat the phone number one more time?
Sure thing. It's 907-251-0800.
Thank you, and apologies for interrupting, Olivia.
That's okay. So yeah. I'm just gonna remove the audio and video, and so Nick, you should also experience that. And we are back. Nick, could you let me know if you can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, I need a motion to go ahead and extend the meeting until we're done.
Moves to extend the meeting until we've completed all agenda items.
Second.
Moved by Mayor Hirsch, seconded by Mayor Cruz. Jackson, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Mayor Church.
Yes.
Mayor Hopkins.
Yes.
Mayor Bruce.
Yes.
Mr. Cleaver.
Yes,
Mr. Kraft.
Yes.
And Mr. Zarnecki.
Yes.
second, we met in executive session. And we didn't make a formal action there, but we will make one here in a minute with the budget. And that brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is the fast planning FFY 2026 office budget. You have that in your packet. Jackson, do you want to speak to that first, or?
No, I introduced it at our last meeting. I believe you were all present. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any that you have. Regard to any item that you see in the budget.
Any questions for Jackson? Technically, we have a public hearing on this. There, no, anybody wishing to testify on the budget? Online,
No one online.
public hearing is closed. Now we get a motion to put it on the floor and then we can get into it.
Move to. What do I need to move the budget on the board? Move to adopt the proposed budget.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go, thank you.
Moved by Mayor Hopkins, seconded by Brass. Now we're open for discussion. But I have a couple items later on, but let you folks get into it first. Seeing none?
Now that I've made the motion. Does the 2% proposed merit increase that was in there, is that included? with-
Be appropriate to do it now.
Okay, I move to increase, I move to add the 2% merit increase, to all staff, salaries.
Second.
Would you call a roll on that, please?
Is
No discussion.
that number correct?
The 2% merit? Yeah, the COLA is already in here.
2.18, is it? 2.15 is the COLA that is in there automatically, and then the 2% would be the merit or.
okay.
Or the 4.15. Yeah. Okay, we're good, thank you.
Call roll, please.
Okay, Mayor Hopkins.
Yes.
Mayor Bruce.
Yes.
Mr. Cleaver.
Yes.
Grass.
Yes.
Mayor Church.
Yes.
Mr. Zarnecki.
Yes.
Thanks. Motion passes 6-0. Other amendments. Well, I'm gonna try two. One, the new vehicle at 30,000. I really think of between the borough and the city, the two cities and the state of Alaska, we can come up with a vehicle. We don't just need to spend $30,000. And when we used to host the old FMAS at the city, I just let them have the mayor's vehicle because I hardly ever use the darn thing. And they would use that to run around and do what they needed to do. I think at the city, we could certainly find something that would work, that can haul things around or
I
whatever.
gave it up. Don't try cookies.
And, or maybe other entities can do it, but I think we should try first before we go out and buy a new vehicle. So I will make a motion that we at this time delete the purchase of a new vehicle at 30,000.
Second.
Discussion,
I would urge to get first blush, I would speak against it simply because let's make sure we can get that vehicle in hand before we take it out of the budget. If there's an opportunity that the city has an old vehicle or we do as we are replacing ours. That's something I can put on the table for my vehicle replacement discussions, if there's anything out there that's usable and not in a horrible mechanical position. But let's keep it in the budget and then urge Jackson, to see if there are any available vehicles that we would be able to donate from our fleet for yours. But I assume your fleet is fairly slim.
Well, you don't want our 1997 Ford Ranger.
I mean, I might, that's not fun.
Mr. Kraus,
Yeah, I've seen our used vehicles that are, and they're used up, and I imagine the city is pretty similar. I 1997 or like 20, 30 years, they get on pretty far. And this is, I don't know, we need reliable vehicles for staff to drive around in. I think there may be something usable, but I would leave this in the budget, assuming that there probably isn't.
You know, my thought is, keep it in the budget. Then we check our inventories and see if there's something simple. But keep it, we're here in the budget, it doesn't mean we have to expend it in the budget. But it's in the budget and so we have before we take out.
What do you guys have now?
We do not have a personnel vehicle.
Okay.
we never had that.
And I don't think I do either, so it's true to me, so I can't let you guys drive around my vehicle.
And we're not looking for a four-door car, you're looking for a small SUV or something like that.
Small van.
Yeah,
Yep.
You're trying to carry around Corey's model.
items like that.
Bike equipment,
Yeah, bike
Okay.
racks, the bike rallies.
Let's you know, I'm gonna check our inventory this month and I can come back with whatever we have.
I'll do the
Crop
crap.
pick.
Yeah.
You cost something out at 30 grand, cause you're getting a Ford Escort.
Well, that was kind of a first year cost. I mean, if we made a down payment or potentially leased a vehicle, I mean,
Okay.
we haven't sorted it out yet. We have an idea that we'd like a kind of like a small transit van, but we haven't been seriously looking because yet we don't have money to move on anything.
Oh,
And also there's insurance,
yeah,
storage, I guess will be at the city Slavery Transportation Center.
we can manage, I bet I can manage parking spot over at ours if we wanted, but
And everything else.
probably equidistant ones between you and.
Any other discussion? Jackson, okay, call it, please.
All right, Mr. Cleary.
Yes,
So just the motion is to remove this from, okay, all right, Mr. Kraft,
No,
Mayor Church,
No.
Mayor Hopkins,
No.
Mayor Cruz,
No,
Mr. Zarnecki.
No.
okay, that fails on 1 to 5 vote. My second one is this, on page 22, you've got your balance sheet. Right now, at Mount McKinley, we have, as of August 20th, 988,000. Now of that, you go down, I was talking to Jackson earlier, under, it says equity down there, designated net assets. And if I get this wrong, correct me, but apparently that number is the amount of money that we all contributed in the forming to FAST planning of each of the 4 organizations. And by law that we are supposed to keep that on deposit, is that correct?
By our own, the way we set up our agreement and our own policy. Yes, if the corporation ever dissolves, that 696,000 needs to be paid back to the member agencies. So checks would be cut to the 2 cities, the borough, the state, to reimburse them for those membership fees if we were to dissolve.
Now, on top of that, we need to maintain in our account leave liabilities. And if you add up all 4 employees' leave liabilities, it's right around $100,000 or so. I don't assume they're all gonna quit at the same moment, I hope not, but you would have a liability of that, you need to be able to cover that. So that would bring your about $800,000 you need to have in that account. It still leaves about 180,000 or so. My concern is that we take project money to fund the office, and we do that because the feds don't quite give us enough to run it. This is a nationwide problem. We started out with 100,000 that's in our tip to fund this office, and 2 years ago, we raised it to 150,000. That bothers me a little bit, because I don't like using project money to do that. What I'm gonna propose is an amendment to decrease the amount in the tip from 150,000 to $100,000. And then I believe we can easily accommodate that with the monies that we have on hand right now. So,
Is that a motion?
yes,
Second.
discussion. Go ahead, Mayor.
Why does using project funds, for the budget concern you?
The amount of money we use for planning, and this is for all aspects of fast planning and that we're required to do, boggles my mind on how much you spend on planning and how much should go into a project if we don't get into a project. And our dependence more and more on the tip, we're going to, I think the 0 to 100,000, 150,000 is becoming more all the time. I think we've got the money. I'm just saying, do we need it? This year, maybe next year we do. But I think we can fund it ourselves. Keep the take at 100,000.
What does the that $50,000 increase change or limit our ability to do work that we are planning on doing?
You have the money in your savings right now. It shouldn't change anything. At this point, it should not change anything. You shouldn't change anything in your budget.
Okay, so this comes down probably similar to the scoping and design discussion we always have in our borough. Why is scoping and design always so much? You can line item it out and get to it. So what you're proposing is instead of using federal and state dollars within the TIP, we use our savings that we have.
50,000, yeah.
Okay, and are you concerned that we won't get that funding from the state and the federal government within the TIP?
Mayor Turge.
With the savings that we have, do we have that invested so that it returns dividends to us, and where do those dividends go? So it sits in a non-interest bearing account? Is there a way to invest that so we can use the dividend money that we receive from that investment to split hairs and find a middle ground between removing the $50,000 from the tip and making up for that money in investment proceeds in the form of interest at 4.5% or 5%?
I just did the board to tell me to do that.
No, it's two separate issues, but it's a great idea. I mean,
Agreed.
we're
Just-
sitting there at 100,000. I know a 9-month TD over there is 3 something right now, which is a lot better than nothing. That could be $30,000 right there.
And we're getting about 5 on our TIP.
We are as well.
Yeah.
Which is why I bring it up. They would definitely meet the goal of your suggestion, not to interject a second amendment, but it would meet your goal, but also meet the needs of this office to move forward.
I'll vote no on this just because, I'm blasted, back on my home front at the borough for using savings accounts for operating expenditures, even when those are one time, or for education or where we're at. And so I think we should keep the sustainable funding that we have in case, something hits us.
I counter a little bit with that because at the city, we do the same thing you're doing. We need to have savings for emergencies. Unexpected, but that's not really in this organization. We're not looking at flood emergencies or whatever. This is funding on all of this essentially. But to me, it's a little bit of not an apples to apples comparison. And I think if we do invest, you can make up what I'm amending here, you could almost make it up with an investment. But whatever. Jackson.
So this move here just feels a little bit awkward for me because, this is a budget. It's not our revenue through our tip. you're gonna modify the amount of surface transportation program dollars, that needs to be part of the next TIP amendment. Not, the budget just shows what our planned expenditures are gonna be. It doesn't show, the budget doesn't include our revenue. Our TIP shows what our revenue is. So if you want to reduce our, the revenue that we dedicate to the office, that would need to be part of the TIP amendment. We also may need to modify our Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP plan, which is our staff work plan, which also has our federally approved budgets in there.
So is
So I'm
it,
just saying, this feels just a little bit like the budget, I don't know, is the tool to accomplish this. It would be next time we bring up an adjustment to our transportation improvement program to have that discussion, but the motion can still be intent. So that next time I work on a TIP amendment that I include this. So, however you want to handle it, please.
all the questions, sir?
Only question on the motion is to reduce our taking from the tip from 150,000 to 100,000. Okay, everybody clear?
Mr. Cleaver,
Yes.
Mayor Bruce,
Yes.
Mayor Hopkins,
No.
Mayor Church,
No.
Mr. Krass,
No.
and Mr. Zarnecki.
No.
Okay, so that fails, 4-2. I'm done. 0 for 2. Changing budgets here is hard. Anybody else? Did you call the roll on the main motion, please?
Main motion,
Move to, accept the budget as amended.
No, it's.
Oh, was it?
we have this is the main motion.
Amended, Jesus Christ, how does that ever happen?
We did amend it.
Yeah, sure.
All right, main motion as amended. Mr. Krass,
Yes.
Mayor Church. Yes. Mayor Hopkins.
Yes.
Mayor Bruce.
Yes.
Mr. Cleaver.
Yes,
And Mr. Zarnecki.
Yes.
okay, passes on 6-0 vote. That brings us to policy board comments. Starting with Mayor Church.
Thank you for the good discussion today, and thank you for the quality work that you do here at Bath County. We really do appreciate it. Your efforts are noticed and appreciated, not just here on this policy board by me or anyone else who chooses to speak, but certainly by our community. They don't always agree with everything that you do, but positive steps forwards aren't always easy. So I appreciate your effort. Thank you.
Second those comments, and thank you staff for all the excellent work you do. That came up over and over in our deliberations was what excellent work y'all do. I do have a question, Jackson, I'm hoping you can outline any impacts a federal shutdown might have. Well, it seems more and more likely in the month of
I
October.
think so.
At this time, I have no concerns. It is possible there's a delay in reimbursement, for our invoices for our grant. However, the state fronts our reimbursements and then they get reimbursed from the feds. And so the state would actually build up a bill. We would likely get paid, but they would be impacted. But regardless, you see how much money is in our account. We could survive an entire year without getting a reimbursement, more than a year. We have intentionally set that up in case something like this might happen, or we don't have a transportation bill, or the transportation bill drastically changes. So we are very well insulated, so I don't have any concerns.
Thank you, appreciate the reassurance.
Mayor Hopkins.
I'll echo what, Church and Crest said. Thank you guys for your work as staff. It's wonderful coming here, seeing you out in the community and all the work you guys do. I think it's really appreciated by not just us in this room, but the whole of the borough. Being approachable and knowledgeable is wonderful. Deborah, I don't know if we said it when you guys were in the room, but it sounds like you've got another grandkid on the way. If that's from Kyle or not, tell him I said hello. But thanks for everything you do as well. Back there and keeping us all on, on budgeted items is wonderful. So thank you all for your staff. Look forward to another minimum 2 years working with you.
You're first. Mr. Zanicki, welcome. Great hearing your voice. And echo the comments of previous board members here to the staff. We go through an evaluation with your positions once a year. And it was a very good evaluation. You guys doing a remarkable, excellent job. Ms. Todd. 13 years, really?
Yeah.
I know, it goes by fast.
Working on my third retirement now.
There you go.
Finally got my 40 quarters in social security.
Thank you for your steadfastness here.
You're
It
welcome.
really, you know, it
I work with a
really,
good staff.
yeah, it is.
Fun to come to work.
Yes, exactly. Just want to appreciate you, so thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Zarnicki?
I will echo the same comments as everybody else. I haven't been on the FAST board for very long now, but you know, I have been involved with FAST on the periphery for many years, and you know, I agree that the FAST staff does an exemplary job, and so thank you to Jackson and everybody at the FAST staff for all of the work that you do. And thanks for the welcome onto the board. And I hope to attend at least a couple of these in person up in Fairbanks.
Thank you, and again, welcome to the board. Yeah, I think our staff has done a great job. I know at times, sometimes we make decisions that you may disagree with or whatever, but we're all working for a common goal and moving forward. And I've always loved being on this body over the years because you see the fruits of your labor more so than you do at the borough or at the city and the things that we do from day to day. You know, this, when you're actually building something, constructing something, that's pretty cool, I think. So it's fun to be a part of that. Two of you missed the executive session earlier. We can fill you in. Bob Pristash was here, so he can fill you in, Mayor, and I can as well. And to Mayor Church, you know, Jackson can fill you in and what was said there or what was not said. And I mean, no formal action was taken at all there.
With that in mind, I'm looking at our next meeting and I believe I have a Alaska Housing Finance Corporation board meeting in Anchorage on that day, so I might be missing. I'll let you know. All right, thank you.
Did you want us to try and move it? I mean,
No. First of all, I gotta get reelected, that way I don't compete.
well, yeah. All righty, anything else? Need a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Moved by Mayor Church, seconded by Mr. Kraus. Any objection? It passes unanimously. We adjourn at 2:20.
Yeah.